to proceed into my lecture now. So today my presentation will be on Koha and my experience from Northeastern state. So my presentation is divided or segregated into three parts. In the first part, we will be discussing about the introduction to cloud computing. In the second session, we will be discussing how to set up a server in the cloud environment. And the third session, we will be seeing how Koha can be installed in a cloud environment. So this is the way three parts I have divided my lectures. We will go into it. First of all, we have a basic definition of what is cloud computing. Cloud computing is the use of network of remote servers hosted on the internet to store, manage, and process data rather than local server. So this is a basic or standard definition for cloud. Putting the cloud technology in simple words, the thing is that now we are storing our data or information in a server which is not within our organization. We are also, it is not the meaning that cloud means we are going to store the data on the real cloud. Okay, so this is the meaning is that the systems are there in remote place. We are accessing those systems through various networks, that is mainly through internet, not like the traditional server which we have in our institution or organization. Okay, so that is the meaning of cloud computing. So when we talk of cloud computing, so this particular picture will or graph will be a self-explanatory how cloud computing will be very helpful for library professions, those who are thinking that I have the provision to move my setup to the cloud environment. So there are various features are there that is listed in this particular mm, slide, but we will be going into one by one. The first and foremost thing is that the capital expenditure. See, when you want to create a library server, a lot of capital money is involved. For buying a normal server, we are not going for any high-end server. Suppose if you want to buy a normal server, you have to spend around 3 to 5 lakhs. So this is only for the equipment cost. Next is that other additional charges are there, like putting up table, furnitures, and if we are in a temperate zone, we have to put an air conditioner and a person to look after that particular server. So overall, the cost of maintaining that particular server per year will be around 5 to 7 lakhs, including the person who is going to handle it. So the initial cost is around 5 to 7 lakh for setting up a good server for your library. So in case if we are going to embrace or adopt cloud technology, this cost will come down drastically. Whereas 5 lakhs and whereas 30 to 40,000, we can start your installation. So if you are just going to go with just a Koha alone, you can go for a cloud with 30 to 40,000. So you can see that the initial expenditure starting from 3 lakhs to 5 lakhs, we have come down to 30,000. So this much capital expenditure is saved. Next is that whatever the quality of the server you are going to procure, the server becomes obsolete after 3 years. You know that how the computing technology is evolving very fast. The best example is the mobile we are using. So those who have the capacity to change the mobile, they are changing mobile every year because of the updations in the system. The same way, when it comes to server technology also, whatever the latest technology server we are buying today for our organization, that particular instrument will become obsolete or outdated within 3 to 5 years. So the initial cost that we have put into the system, that is around 3 to 5 lakhs, becomes nullified. It becomes zero after 3 to 5 years. So you have to add a new server. With, if it is a blade server, means you have to add a new server. You know, it is a standalone server, means you have to go for another server. Otherwise you have to increase the RAM. So these kind of some kind of an additions we have to do. So that is the meaning of capital expenditure. So we can reduce our capital expenditure if our library is thinking to automate or go online. Okay, so that is the first thing. Next important thing when it comes to cloud is that we can work from anywhere, because we are connected through internet. The best example is that today in COVID environment, many library professions would have not able to access the staff clients if they are in the Koha, because they are not publicly available. It may be in the LAN environment or within the campus network. Suppose if it was in the cloud environment, the staff also can access it through the staff client, and the students can also access the cloud, access the Koha through cloud. So that is the meaning of work from anywhere. Only thing is that we need the connectivity. If the connectivity is good, so there is no problem in accessing the thing. Next important thing is that the security aspect. So when you talk of server technology, we in our library, what we do is that regularly we take a backup and we store it. We as a library professions are not sound in computing technology, so we are dependent on some other staffs of the organization, or we have to outsource some people for these things. Okay, so suppose if we go for cloud computing, there is 100% guarantee that your data are secured. If any kind of a disaster is going to take place, there is 100% guarantee that your data will be recovered. Okay, so that is an important point when it comes to security part. Another important thing we'll discuss here is automatic application update. See, when I was a student, Koha was not there. Today, when we started with Koha, we started with the 2 point something, now it has come to 3.20. So a regular updation is taking place for the software or any kind of a application program we are using it. So as an individual person who is managing that particular software, we have to run the update regularly. It becomes a cumbersome process, and it is not that only updating the software. Sometimes because of updating, what happens is that certain settings also is changing. Okay, so the best example is that Koha earlier version was having MySQL. Now they have gone to MariaDB database. So if you are moving from one to another thing, this kind of a complication takes place. But if we have installed our instance in cloud environment, the updation takes place automatically. We are free from this kind of updating things. Okay, so that is the next point I want to emphasize when we are going for cloud. The next important thing is flexibility. Okay, so what is the meaning of flexibility? So flexibility means if you want to increase or decrease your system size. Okay, so that is the meaning of flexibility. For example, today your computer has one server. So data has become big. Tomorrow you can buy one more server. Again, you can buy one more server. So this is called as scaling up. Okay. Suddenly you think that, no, I don't need this many things. What you can do is that you can scale down to another server. That is, you can remove two server and you will say that I need only one server, you can keep it. So this is one kind of flexibility. Another one thing is that suppose your system runs, your Koha runs on a small system. You can increase your system. Again, you can increase your system. And one point of time you think that no, it is not needed, you can scale it down or scale it up. So that kind of a flexibility is there with the cloud environment. This is not there in our traditional system. In a traditional system, it is very difficult. Next important thing is the disaster recovery. So the disaster recovery is because we have a sound backup thing. The disaster is not a big issue if anything goes wrong. Individual service provider takes up the backup and keep their backup in 2-3 distributed location. It is not that our backup will be there in only one location. So for example, our server is in Bombay. They will have a backup in one in Calcutta, one in Chennai, or in Delhi, somewhere like that. So there is 100% guarantee that our data will be recovered without any huge loss. So a disaster recovery is very robust when we talk of cloud computing. Okay, so this a disaster. Some other point is that in coming slide I will emphasize on those things. The next important thing is that next important point is speed and productivity. Because the cloud system runs on a good configuration, obviously speed and productivity will be there. Next is that people can work from remote location. It is not that every time you have to come to organization. So that is the meaning of speed and productivity. Another thing is very important thing. Yesterday only we are talking of environmental day. So when we are moving for cloud, we are reducing accumulating a lot of e-waste. As I told you, in the initial year, I buy a server. After 3 years, it becomes obsolete, means I have to go for a new server. So that becomes a huge liability for the organization, and we are spoiling the environment. So if we are going for the cloud, we can be more environment friendly by reducing e-waste. Okay, so these are all few advantage. Next, and the last one is the competitiveness. Because we are running on the cloud, we have a technology upper hand over the traditional server technology. Using the network, we can access it from anywhere. Both the user and the staff client can be accessed. It is a mobile device independent. You can access your Webpack through mobile. You can access your Webpack through desktop. You can access your Webpack through tab or anything. So if you go to cloud, what happens is that we customize our web page in such a way that it becomes a device compatible. Okay, so these are all a few advantages when we talk of cloud computing. The cloud computing is again divided into two parts based on the deployment and based on the service they provide. So deployment means how the clouds are existing. Okay, so the deployment model is of 3 types. One is public cloud, hybrid cloud, private cloud. So these are all 3 broad categories of cloud computing when it comes to deployment model. The first one is public cloud. Public cloud meaning is that the cloud setup is open for everyone. Anyone can go and access that particular service provider and set up their own cloud. Okay, so that is the meaning of public cloud. Next is private cloud. Private cloud means the cloud setup is there, but the cloud can be accessed only by certain set of organization or certain set of individuals. So that is the meaning of private cloud. Only few can access the cloud. The combination of public and private cloud is called as hybrid cloud. It gives the advantage of both the technology what is available in the public cloud and the private cloud. So that kind of a technology is called as hybrid cloud. So the cloud computing is broadly classified under 3 categories when you talk of deployment model. It's public cloud, hybrid cloud, and private cloud. So this is the deployment model. The next one is the service model, how the cloud providers are giving the service to the user. Okay, so when we talk of service, the service is of three types. The first one is infrastructure as a service. Meaning is that the cloud provider will give you just the infrastructure. The meaning is that they will give you a individual flat. You can go and stay. Nothing will be furnished. You have to buy your furniture. You have to do all your kitchen, dining work, everything. So like that. So only the house will be given. So I'm putting in simple words so that everyone can understand it. So the meaning of infrastructure as a service is that the basic infrastructure will be given by the cloud provider. Next is platform as an independent. Platform as an independent is little higher level. Okay, so we will give you the house, we will furnish the house, okay, and we will put all the rations in your kitchen. Whichever thing you want to do, you cook and consume it. So that is the meaning of platform as a model. Next one is software as a service. In this particular thing, software as a service, your house is full furnished, food is ready, you just go consume and sleep and come out. Okay, so here software as a service means the cloud provider gives you everything. Suppose if you want to run on Koha, they will install Koha for you. If you want to run DSpace, they will install DSpace for you. No, I don't want all those things. I want to run on Windows 10. Windows 10 will be installed for you. So just you have to go log in, use the software and come, and you have to pay accordingly. So whatever you are going to use. So these are all the three service model that is available when we talk of cloud computing. Okay, so the next slide we will discuss about the life cycle of cloud. So we are talking of a cloud means how this starts and ends. Where is the life cycle? The first part of the life cycle starts is that we as an individual or organization has to plan to set up the cloud. Where I am going to set up my cloud, to which service provider. So a basic planning must be there. Next is that build, test, deploy your application in the cloud. So you build your cloud, install your application and use it. The third one in the life cycle is manage and monitor the cloud. Once your software has been deployed, you have to manage and monitor it, whether it is working properly or not, if any hiccups are there or not. Okay, the third one is that based on your usage, meter will be charged. Based on the usage, the cloud provider will be charged. And if you think that my system has certain problem, I want to increase or reduce my configuration, so the system can be optimized. Okay, so that is the meaning of meter, charge and optimize. So this four component will be the cloud's life cycle. It's clear for everyone. Next, we will move into the pros and cons of cloud computing, the advantages and disadvantages. So we have discussed earlier itself. The first advantage is that initial cost is very lower or very less. Deploying a server in a traditional method and in a cloud environment, it's comparatively very cheap. Next is quick setup and deployment. Suppose you think that I want to go and install Koha in a cloud environment, you can do it in a half an hour, maximum half an hour, I'm telling, if network is fine. But that cannot be done in a regular server thing. Okay, next is easy upgradable. That only I told you of scalability. You can scale up, scale down. Next is accessibility, because we are connected through the internet. Our accessibility is 24/7. Next is scalability, is that how far you can stretch the system. Okay, how far you can stretch the system. The meaning is that my system runs on a 25 GB RAM. Okay, my system 25 GB hard disk is there. What happens in a regular hardware environment is that if your hard disk is full, think that your hard disk is 25 GB and you are reaching 24 GB, then system will show little bit problem in retrieval and all. It will hang, it will become slow. Okay, but in case of a cloud environment, that issue is not there. You can suppose your server is 50 GB and you are reaching to 49.9% of the storage, there will be no lag in the performance. Okay, so that is the meaning of scalability and stretching the system. Next is compatibility. Is installation is easy, upgradation is easy. So that is the meaning of compatibility. Okay, so it is not that cloud has only the advantages, it has certain disadvantages also. So when it comes to disadvantages, the main and very important point to remember is that as a end user, we don't have the control of the data what we produce. Okay, so you may say that data is secure, highly secured, everything they will say tell, but as an individual user, I will have a little bit grudge that whether my data is secured or not, who is accessing my data, if anything goes wrong, what will happen. So the main problem is that we don't have the control on our particular data. Next is security and data issues. Okay, as a service provider, they will say that yes, my data is secured, but as an end user, we will have some kind of a security thing, whether something will go wrong and whether any data breach will be there. So those kind of a thing, as an end user we will, but we as a library professions, we are not dealing with very sensitive data that anyone is going to hack your system and hamper it. So in that way we are little bit aloof from that. No need to take so much pain in our minds that our data will be hacked and all those things. So that is the next thing. Next is limited range of application. Okay, I have told many things of cloud environment, but the problem is that all the applications cannot be run on all the cloud. See, for example, Koha runs on particular database, DSpace runs on a particular database. Okay, if the two database provisions are not there by that service provider, we can't install both Koha and DSpace on a same service provider. See, for example, Oracle runs on a particular Oracle database, Amazon runs on a particular SQL database. Then problem is that in Oracle I can't install Koha, in Amazon I can't install DSpace. So this, I'm just giving you an example. This kind of a thing is not there for us. Just for your understanding, I'm telling is that all the applications are not available with the cloud providers. Okay. Now, whereas in the server thing, whatever software, if you want to install, we can install it, we can access it. So that is a big advantage when it comes to standalone system. The major drawback, the country like us is the connectivity. Okay, cost is less, we are flexibility is there, updation is there, all those things. But if we have a poor network, I advise all the viewers who are watching to don't think to embrace cloud, because I am not aware that in which location you are there. Okay, so if connectivity is very poor, cloud is not an option for us. So connectivity is a big, but things are changing. As you know that we are using different technology and more or less our networks are stable nowadays. Okay, speed may be little up and down. Sometime we may get 4G, sometime we may get 3G, sometime 2G, but we are connected. So the connectivity over the period, we will get a better connectivity. I don't think that our connectivity is going to deplete. Our connectivity will be more concrete only. But as a user, if you are going to install my Koha instance into a cloud, and my college is situated in a remote area where connectivity is very less, means then it is not advisable to go into the cloud model. Okay, so the connectivity is the biggest backbone for cloud technology. If connectivity is not proper, don't think of cloud. Okay, so connectivity is a big drawback when you talk of cloud technology. Next is performance. When you have your data in your own server, retrieval will be quite fast. Okay, retrieval will be quite fast. Suppose if you have a food in the kitchen, you can take it and eat it at once. Otherwise, if you're going to order it from Swiggy and get it, half an hour to 1 hour will take it. So that kind of a difference will be there. So that is the meaning of performance difference. Here it is not like 1 hour, 2 hours difference will be there. It is not like that. The meaning is that suppose if you are going to retrieve a particular database, think that Koha runs around 1 lakh bibliographic data in your server. If you are going to retrieve the information within 4 seconds, in cloud it may take 7 seconds. Three more seconds may be extra. That's all. So that is the meaning of performance lag, because cloud has a better infrastructure than our local server. So only the problem is with the network. If the network is there, performance lag will be minimal. Lag will be there, but the lag will be minimal. Okay, so these are all certain broad prospect of pros and cons of cloud computing. Okay, the next important thing that only I told when we are talking of disaster in the first second slide, we told that I will discuss about disaster management little bit in depth. Okay, so what is the meaning of disaster management, and what as a user who are thinking to move towards the cloud is that you have to be very clear with two concepts. One is RTO, recovery time objective, and RPO, recovery point objective. So these two things are important when we talk of disaster management. So this part I will explain a little bit in detail. See, for example, you have a cloud instance and the disaster takes place at this point. Okay, so disaster takes place at this point. Also, as a library or an institution, okay, as a library or an institution, you must know that if anything goes wrong, how much time you can wait. If system crashes, how much time you can wait. Okay, I will put an hypothetical situation. The cloud provider says that if any disaster takes place in 24 hours, okay, data will be recovered. So this concept is clear. So the cloud provider says that within 24 hours, your data will be recovered. Think that 5 p.m. your system crashes. Okay, so 5 p.m. your system crashes and the recovery takes place around 10 p.m. This part is clear. Okay, so what the organization told that the recovery will take 24 hours, but the recovery has taken place 5 hours. So the meaning is that before 19 hours your data has been recovered, so you don't have any problem. So as a person who is going to embrace cloud, you must be very clear that what is the recovery time the service provider is telling. Okay, so within 24 hours they are telling, and if they are going to recover within 5 hours, no problem. But think that within 24 hours, but they are taking it 48 hours, then it is a problem. Another one day you have to manage without the system, whether that is possible for you. So that is called as downtime. Okay, so this is an important concept when it comes to cloud and disaster management. You have to, so this is recovery time objective. So how much time you can wait. Okay, so that is the meaning of recovery time objective. The next is recovery point objective. Recovery point objective means is that how much data loss your organization can withstand. Okay, so for example, as a library, our circulation data is a more important data. Okay, so I can withstand a circulation loss of 2 days. Okay, so circulation loss of 2 days means you can manage it. Okay, so it is all hypothetical only. It is not anything hard and fast rule. Just for your understanding, I am telling that you think that my library can manage for 2 days if any data loss is there. Fine. So now we will go to an hypothetical situation. Around 10 a.m. system crashes. Okay, so around 10 a.m. the system crashes, and night 11 p.m. they are recovering it. Okay, so the meaning is that 2 days means 48 hours time is there for us, for we can manage the system for 48 hours if any problem is there. But this service provider has recovered the system well in time. So 13 hours before they have recovered it, so no problem. Think that instead of 48 hours, they do it in 72 hours. Then the problem starts for you. So one whole day circulation data or whatever the transaction data your organization is having, we are losing it. Okay, so this particular thing, as a cloud user, you must be very clear that what the service provider is telling. Okay, what is the recovery time they are telling, what is the recovery point objective. So the meaning here is that I can withstand for 24 hours. I can manage only 24 hours data loss. If it is 48 hours, I can't manage. If it is 72 hours, I can't manage. So here also time I can manage it for 24 hours, but I can't manage it for. So these RPO and RTO must be clear for all the people who are thinking that in future if you are going to plan for a cloud. Okay, so this concept is very important and very basic, and before going to an agreement with the cloud provider, you make clear that if any kind of a disaster takes place, what is the recovery time period. Okay, so this is one important thing I want to emphasize, because we as a library professions are very much worried about our data. If something goes wrong, what happens, how we will recover, all those things, no? So when you go cloud, so this part must be very clear. I hope I have made it simple. Next we will move to the next important thing, is that till now we have discussing about what is cloud computing. So now we will move into, I have here two examples of creating a cloud instance. One is Amazon cloud, AWS, and another one is Oracle cloud. Okay, so in this cloud we will see that how to develop or create a Linux thing. In Oracle we will see how to develop a Windows instance. When we talk of cloud computing, there are three major players. They are Amazon cloud, Azure cloud, Azure is Microsoft, then is Google cloud. These are three major players. Amazon has around 30% of market share. Azure has around 16 to 20%, and Google has around 10 to 13%, I think so. Okay, the statistics may be wrong. Just I'm giving you an overview. Okay, Oracle and all are very, they are in the top 10, but they are not on the top 3. So now we will go and see how to create a instant in Amazon cloud environment. Okay, so when you go into the Amazon, you will get this kind of a screen. So what we have to do is that you have to log in and go inside. So now I will be going through various screenshots and how easy it is for a particular layman to create a server, you can understand it. So yes, a Linux server or a Windows server can be created within few minutes. Okay, so now you see that these slides takes how much time you can see it. Okay, so once you go to Amazon, you have to sign in and you create it, then login. After logging in, you will get this particular screen where you have to search for your server. Okay, so here you have to search for your server, what kind of a server you need. You need E2C server or Lambda server or whatever the server it is available. It depends upon your need. So you type that particular server, it will pop up and you have to click it. So now I am putting a basic Elastic Compute Cloud EC2 cloud. So I am putting this particular screen. So this will pop up. So after popping up, you will ask to run an instance. So now we are going to start to develop a particular cloud. So this is called as instance. Okay. So once we click it, what happens is that once we click it, it starts to create a server for us. So that is called as creating an instance. So after that, you have to click the launch option. You click it, it will start creating it. In the next screen, we will see it. So after that, we have launched it now.
Hello.
Hello. Shall I proceed?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So after putting your particular instance, now it comes with a pop-up that Amazon machine image. So this time, as I told you, in this particular Amazon, I will show you how to create a Linux instance. So it comes out and says that Linux 2 AMI. So whatever the server you want, I am taking for 64-bit server. You just click yes, select, it will start creating it. Okay. After clicking that, this particular screen comes where you have to review and launch. Okay, where you have to review and launch this particular thing. You have to go through it and review and launch the server. So after clicking this, the server starts booting up. Okay, after booting up, it comes with certain key. This key helps us to connect with the cloud environment. This we will come little back. Okay, so a certain key will come from this cloud instance. This key will help us to connect to the cloud from our computer. Okay, so now you can see that the cloud is creating. Okay, so you can see it is pending. Okay, so once it is finished, you can say that it is running. So you can see earlier clouds, it has been working and they are showing it is stopped. Okay, so but our cloud, it is started. Now only it is booting up or it is taking a shape. Okay, the cloud instance is creating. So that is called as pending. Okay, let the cloud start one side. Before going into the cloud, you need to know about another one particular software that is called as Putty. P-U-T-T-Y. It's called Putty or Putty, whatever the way you pronounce it. So this particular software enables us to connect with the Linux server, because I will be working with Windows system, but I am going to connect to the Linux system. Okay, so certain channel we have to create a channel or certain path we have to create it, so that sitting in your remote desktop, we have to go to that particular. So what you have to do is that you just Google it and ask, type Putty. This particular software will come, whether you are running on 64-bit or 34-bit system, you install it. So another one thing you have to install is PuttyGen. PuttyGen will be for creating the key and enabling the key. So these two things you have to install in your system. It is a simple like any other software you are going to install. Nothing technical is there. Just you download it, right click and install it. and that's all. It is not a big issue like any other VLC media player or whatever the software we install in your mobile or in your computer, like that only. This is not any technical or hi-fi the thing. So download this particular software. Once this particular software is downloaded, what we have to do is that we have to generate the key. Okay, so this key, now we are getting it. Okay, so this is the instance key. So this particular instance key we have to copy and paste it in our putty so that we can access the Linux server that is there in Amazon cloud. Okay, so using this particular key we are going to connect with this particular server. Okay, so I have marked it because of the security reason. So this is the key. We have to copy it and paste it into putty. So here you can see that here I am pasting it in this part. I'm pasting it so that we can access my Linux server. Okay, so for this reason only we need the putty software. Okay, so once you have connected, now I have gone into my Linux Amazon server. Okay, I have gone into my Linux machine. If this white screen comes, it is understood that you have connected to your Linux environment. Okay, now my system is running. You can see that here it is green. Okay, this part you can see that it is green, meaning is that my system is running. So once you click the action, after action, if you want to stop your server, you can stop it. If you want to reboot the thing, you can reboot it. If you want to terminate it, whatever you want to do, you can do it. So if you want to stop it, you stop it. If you want to reboot it, reboot it. If you want to terminate it, terminate it. Okay, so why this option is available is that the cloud billing is based on the usage. Okay, the cloud billing, the charge we are going to pay for the cloud is based on the usage only. Okay, I will give you the example in another thing that my library is not accessed after 8 p.m. Okay, my library is accessed from morning 6 to evening 8 p.m. only. Night no one accesses. No, this is not the reality. Just for understanding and hypothetically, I'm telling. Library must be there for 24/7. Okay, just for your understanding, think that my library, no one accesses my library after 8 p.m. So 8 p.m. to morning 6 a.m. you can stop the cloud. The meaning is that time period, no need for us to pay the rent for the cloud environment. So that is the advantage when we move for the cloud in. So we will pay as much we use it. Okay, we are going to pay only what we are going to consume. They are not going to charge you anything more or less. If you are consuming this much resources, that will be the bill. The next month your consumption is less. It is like your electricity meter. As you consume, your electricity bill is charged. Isn't it? So now we have set up our Linux instance in cloud environment. So now you can see that I think I started this thing before 10 minutes. Within 10 minutes, Linux server has been created in a cloud environment, that is in Amazon server. Okay, so now we will move to the next example, that is in Oracle platform, Oracle cloud infrastructure. In this, we will create a Windows instance. Okay, it is not that we are going to use Koha, means you have to know about only Linux only. Okay, so you are not a Koha user, and if you want to install some other thing, then you need Windows. So how to create a Windows? So in this case, I am taken Oracle as an example in Oracle Cloud, so that I can show to service provider how easy it is. Okay, so here also when you go into Oracle, you have to create your user ID and password. You have to log in. After logging in, you will get this screen. Okay, so here itself it says that these are already available. So here it is telling that already create a virtual machine instance is here. I'm going to create a virtual machine. So you can see that it is telling that within 2 to 6 minutes you can create your virtual machine. Okay, no, if you want to create a database, you can go for a database. So like that, they have different options. So first we will go for creating a virtual machine. Okay, so in the next screen, you will get this kind of option. The Windows various server options will be there. So now we will be choosing this particular server option, and we will just hit the button create, so that it will start creating. Okay, if I hit the button create, in the cloud environment, for me a Windows server which runs in 2009 version will be installed for me. Now it will start running for me. Okay, so these are all some other provisions that is there in Oracle. It is not that only Windows is there. You have Canonical Ubuntu, you have CentOS, you have Oracle Autonomous Linux, you have Oracle Linux various version, you have Windows. So many more options are there. Okay, I will just put a screenshot so that it is not that only Windows or Linux alone is there. There are n number of options are there. Whichever we want, we can choose and we can create our instance. Okay. Once you started creating it, the server starts creating. And the next important issue is that you have to assign a public IP, because as a user, we are going to access the server through IP only. If it is not a public IP, we can't access it from outside. So make it sure that your IP is a public IP. You just click on to access as a public IP, then go to the next options. Okay, next option, we are going to just click a create option. It will start creating it. Once you hit the create option, it will start spinning up and creating a Windows instance for us. Now you can see here it is in yellow color. It says that it is provisioning. Okay, it is provisioning, it is running on. Still your IP has not been created. Okay, see, you can see that IP is loading. Still IP is not created. Okay, so that is the work. It is going behind the screen, we doesn't know. Okay, so we have started creating it. The Oracle Cloud is creating a Windows instance for us. Okay, now the instance is started running. So here you can see that from yellow it become green. Okay, it is become green and the IP has been generated. I have blocked it because of security reason. Okay, so the IP has been generated. Okay, so as a user, what we have to do is that taking this particular credentials, we have to log into our system using our remote desktop. When we are going to log in from Windows environment, there is no need for PuTTY. Okay, initially in Linux we were using in Amazon we were using Linux environment, so we were using PuTTY. So, but in case of Windows, there is no need for PuTTY. From our system itself you can access it. Okay, from Windows itself you can access it. So what is the next important certain rules and regulation you have to put it? Now the server has been created. So what are the other things you have to do it? Next is that important thing you have to keep in mind is that you have to define the RDP. Okay, you have to define the RDP. RDP meaning is that remote desktop protocol. Oh, okay, so down I have put the arrow. So if you click on it, it will provision it and you have to follow the thing. Okay, if you click this particular thing, it will provision it and you can proceed further. Okay, this is the next step we have to follow. After this thing, the next thing is that each service provider has certain rules and regulation. Okay, so we have to install certain rules and regulations. So here Oracle has certain security list. Okay, so this down you have certain security list. So this security list you have to click and you have to install into your system, so that we are telling that we are going to have this kind of a security compliance with our system. Okay, so next is the security things will be setting up. Okay, so once the security things are setting up, our server is available. Now you can see that it is telling that the server is available for use. Okay, so this is a simple like a child's play. Once this is there, you can log in into the system using the IP address. As I told you here, no need for any software. You can just log in into your system, go to run option. In the run, you type, I think all of you know the run option. In the run, you type this particular code MST, okay, this MSTSC, and put the IP address. Okay, once you put the IP address, whatever we have seen in that screen, I copy it. I will move into the Windows. Okay, so now you can see that how simple it is for us to create a server in a cloud environment. Till now, many would have thought that it is a very difficult thing. It is not a difficult thing. It is an easy one. Just we have to venture into it. We have to try it. If we are not going to try it, we are not going to learn it. Okay. In Amazon, they give free for students. But you can just log in for 30 days and you can learn it. But they will ask some credit card details, because if you are going to use for more than 30 days, they will detect the money. Okay. So for that, you need certain credit card details. Those who have the credit card provisions, go as a login as a student, try for 1 month and try to play with Amazon server. Okay. So now we have seen what is cloud computing, how to create a Linux server in Amazon platform, and how to create a Windows in an Oracle provider. So these are the three things we have seen for the day now. Now we will move to the next thing. The core part of today's presentation is that how to go or install Koha in the cloud. Okay. So Koha on the cloud environment. So some service provider have already kept open source software in the image format. You can just right click and install it. No need to run any coding. See, for example, this service provider has a Drupal, has Omega, has Koha, has many more things. Why I marked is that these our library professions will be familiar with it. Like that, they have created an image file and kept it in their platform. You have to go create your Linux environment. Just go into this particular screen, right click and install it. That's all. Your Koha instance is created. So this is one option. Think that your service provider does not have a image file. Okay, think that your service provider does not have an image file. I can't do right click and install. Then we have to do the following steps. Okay, what are the following steps? I have to connect my Linux instance using PuTTY. Okay, so I will give my IP. I will go into, once I click from my Windows screen, I will give login to PuTTY and I give my IP. This will come here. I have to give the user ID and password for the Linux server, whatever we have created for the Linux server. Once this part is clear, now we are inside the Linux. Then the regular coding, what you do for installing the Koha in your regular server, the same codings we have to follow. Nothing new here. It is not that we are going to have a new coding for Koha on the cloud. Nothing like that. The same coding what we have used. First, you have to update your Koha. Next, put this sudo apt for updating the Koha. Koha community repository will be there. The following codes will be run on the system and your Ubuntu will be updated. In the next step, we have to install the Koha. You type this particular command, Koha will be installed. So in the latest version, we are talking of a database server. We are going to use Maria database instead of MySQL. The older version was using MySQL, but now we are using Maria database. So using these 3 steps, you can install the Koha. So if you want to create an image file and install, that is also possible. If you want to do it in a coding method, that is also possible. And finally, your library is created. Okay. So now you can see that creating a server and installing a software is very easy. It's a child's play only. I will say it's a child's play only. The thing is that we are not trying into it. We are little bit afraid that what will happen to my system. Nothing will happen. Okay, if you are going to be afraid and if you're not going into try those things, we are not going to learn. Every time we have to depend on a computer science department or a computer technician who is there in organization, and finally we will never learn anything. So if you are interested, try to go and do all those things, because many service providers give free for 1 month. Okay, if you're interested, then you pay for them. If you're not interested, just taste it and come out. That's all. Okay, so now your cloud has been installed, and within the cloud we have installed the Koha instance also. Okay, so this is as simple the way we do it in the regular server. The next is my practical experience, what we have done in the Northeast. So around 20 to 25 colleges we have installed Koha, which is running in the cloud environment. But I have not listed down everything here. So just for your information I am putting. So these are all few colleges which were running in some other software, which has moved to Koha, and that is running on the cloud. Okay. So this Mayank Rachneki College was running in the cloud too. They were having 4,320 records. We have moved this from Sol to Koha, and now it is running on Microsoft Azure. Okay. The next is this college which was running in local ERP version. It was having around 6,000 number. They are running on Amazon version. Okay. This is from my place itself, Meghalaya Judicial Academy. This we have helped them before 3 months only. Now only they went for it. So they, because it's a judicial academy, they don't have a lot of books like a traditional library. They have around 1,200 only. But they also told that okay, we will move into cloud, and they are running in Amazon server. Next is this Sivsagar College, because these are few colleges which is having a little higher data. So Gurgaon College is having around 16,152. This college has also been moved from Sol to Koha, and now it is running on Amazon web server. Okay, so these are all a practical experience I am putting forward you. It is not that you may think that no, till now libraries are not running on the cloud. No, I am giving you a practical thing before you in black and white, that these are all the libraries which is running in the cloud, and what is the benefit they have got out of cloud. Main benefit is that it is webcam mobile enable. You can access your library throughout your mobile or through your desktop. Every time the staff client can be accessed. The librarian is there in the house or in the office. If you want to access the staff client, you can access it. 100% data security is there. Auto backup provision is there. Okay, it is in case of your regular server, we have to say that we are going to take the backup by 5 o'clock or 12 midnight, like that. We have to, here you just set up the time and say that daily morning 8 o'clock backup will be there, night 12 o'clock midnight backup will be there. So automatically backup will stay. And bugging provision is there. If any problem is there, bugging provision is there. And the best is we are with a big brand names, so cloud monitoring is 100%. So whatever happens in the cloud, they will give you statistics. At what time there is a rush, what time more people are visiting your site, what kind of resources there. So full statistics you can take of how the machine has been used. And the last one we have discussed earlier also, software upgradation. So in this few colleges, they have moved from 16 to Koha 3.16 to Koha 1.9 version. Few colleges have moved here. Okay. So this is the practical experience what we have experienced in the northeast of our country. Okay. This is a screenshot of a college which is running in the cloud environment. This is called as Krishnakant Handeki Central Library, which is in Assam. This college also runs on cloud environment. Okay. when our library goes on the cloud, as I told you, as I in the introduction part itself, the madam have introduced that we have added certain new things to Koha. So these are certain new things that we have added it. So the hit server, so how many people are visiting your system, the statistics can be taken up. Okay, who is visiting at what time. So this is not inbuilt with Koha. This we have added to Koha. This is a separate open source software. This we have added to the Koha so that we can access it. And the next is that it gives a monthly statistics. Okay, so how many are coming, how many are going, all those things. So you can see that now because we are locked down, the graph is less. The usage has decreased. Those who are coming to library web page, usage has decreased. That we can see it here. Okay. The next important thing we discussed about scaling up and scaling down the system. Okay, initially we are talking of scaling up and scaling down the system. So this is the screen which tells you that, see, for example, now my system runs on 8 GB RAM and 50 GB hard disk. Tomorrow you think that I need a more bigger system. Just you can move to 16 GB RAM because you need more fast. Okay, so that is the, if you click from here to here, the system will transform from 8 GB to 6 GB. But in your traditional system, we can't do it like that. Okay, so the same way, if you are in 16 GB and if you want to go to 4 GB, again you can go into it. So scaling up, scaling down is possible. So this is a major advantage of going into the cloud environment. And by increasing and decreasing a RAM, we have studied for how the speed in the retrieval is there. In coming 2 slides, I will show that example. With that, I will conclude my presentation. Okay, so this particular college has around 6,000 records. It may be little more or less. Around 6,000 records are there. It runs on 4 GB RAM and 25 GB hard disk. Okay, we have put a query called as Assamese. So start time was 4:29. Yesterday evening only I have tried it. So the start time was 4:29 p.m. Now you can see that for this particular 4 GB system, it took 3 minutes. Okay, so in the next slide, I have changed the system into 8 GB. Okay, so I have changed the system into 8 GB. Now the query starts in 5:23 and ends in 1 minute. So earlier when it was in 4 GB, it was taking 3 minutes. When it is 8 GB, the retrieval is in 1 minute. Okay, so that is the difference. If you want to increase or reduce, you can do it. So that is an advantage when you have cloud technology with you. If you think that my institution has a capability to move into cloud, I will advise you, those who are listening to my lecture, to move towards the cloud so that you are free from all the hardware hiccup. Just you can concentrate on the users alone. No need to worry about tomorrow what will happen, whether the backup will be there, whether the power will be there. If so, for example, like Ampin came into West Bengal, this kind of a cyclone or a flood will be there, what will happen? So we are free from all these kind of disaster and natural calamities. Okay, so that is a major advantage of a cloud. So with this, I conclude my session and presentation. I thank you all for listening to me, and I thank the organizer for giving me the opportunity. And here I want to put forward my idea also. If anyone is willing to move towards the cloud, they can WhatsApp me, I will help them. Okay, it is not that it is very costly. As I told you, it is hardly between, if you are going for Koha, it is between 30 to 50,000. If you are going for Koha and DSpace, it will be around 60 to 80,000. So that will be for per annum, I am telling. Okay, if you think that my college has that provision and we have that kind of an infrastructure, if you are, anyone is interested,